inside, even though I know it echoes because the ceiling's vaulted. But yeah, I want to talk about, I've already done a video about the narcissistic, histrionic type behavior, their behaviors are, I'm not diagnosing anybody with a, personality disorder, but their behaviors were kind of narcissistic and histrionic mixed together. And the histrionic, the women, those were about women. Now I'm going to do it about men. But the women, like I mentioned about them, is that they always had to stand out with their hair, everything from their hair to their toes. Okay, the way they dressed, the way they spoke, the way they laughed, the way they wore a lot of bling, and their clothes were usually suggestive until they got a little older. Then if they were still going to be really tight or see-through, but they were a little bit better than when they were younger. And they would do anything to stand out. Like anything on their head even, like a bandana somehow. Now, not everybody who does that is a histrionic. And not everybody who wears, a lot of jewelry or something is, a histrionic. No. But these, they really wanted to stand out with everything. They had to be center of attention. Nobody else could get any attention. They didn't care if it was bad attention or good attention. Negative or positive. Didn't care as long as they were getting it. Yeah, imagine going to a restaurant with one of those. Not a fun thing. But now, what about men? They can do the same thing. Seriously, the same thing. Did I mention that it's freezing outside? Yeah, this is Texas, and we've had summer went directly into, not fall, but winter for us, how winter is. But yeah, the wind chill, I think, is below freezing, I think in the 20s. So I don't care for that. What I think about is, what if I break down and had to walk home, or walk to any place? Ooh, with that wind chill, not good. But okay, so where was I? Now let me talk about men. Now back whenever I was, me and Adam had divorced. He got married to somebody else. That's a long story, and you don't want to hear it. She was a narcissist, by the way, narcissistic, histrionic type, seriously. And, but they're divorced, like I said. It didn't last long. And back then, I was on my own, on my own. And I started doing the internet dating. That is something I would not suggest to anybody, no. And I did way too much of it, seriously. And so I only date men, so there's only men I was meeting. I can't speak on any other side. I'm a woman dating men. I can't say anything else about the women or anything. And on those, you didn't meet women. I mean, like they had, what is it, kind of like group things, but any of them they were so cliquish. You weren't already a part of it, so they didn't want to know you. So there would be a men and women blend, to meet one another. Some kind of like get together or party or something. I tried that. It was bad. So, but the men I would meet, oh my goodness, some of them, like I said, men can be histrionics too. And I want to talk about the worst one that I remember right now. I might change my mind later on. But the worst one. Now, there was one that was kind of stood out, but he wasn't bad. He wasn't a bad guy. He was just wanting to stand out, and he stood out. He dressed like the Fonz. I know people who watch this around my age. If you're a child, don't be watching this. But I don't think children watch my videos anyway. But yeah, this guy wanted to stand out so much. He dressed like the Fonz. Seriously. This next one, the worst one I'm going to talk about, his whole character was bad. I would say close to evil. Well, I would just say it, evil. Now I met him at I think it's called Frederickers, maybe. And it was not far from where I was living at the time, like right across the street, or not really right across the street, but yeah. It was in the neighborhood, and I think that's what it was. Anyway, I met him online, and then met in person. I always went to somewhere that was nearby where I live, and maybe people know me. This is the Dallas area, and not many people are going to know you. But it was like this. I'd go to the same restaurant, to meet somebody, meet a guy. And this one, he, I don't know. I don't have anything against short people, and I'm tall, so most people really, I'm taller than your average man. Okay, and I'm female, always have been. So somebody actually said that one time because I said something like that, But anyway, so I'm taller than most men. When I go to, like a store and I'm standing in line, I'm looking over everybody's heads. Okay, male, female, doesn't matter. But anyway, this guy was short. And I think he had that whole thing, he was short, just short for, men at all. I don't know any that are that short. So maybe he had a bad attitude because of that. And some would say, I have a bad attitude because of that. My height, not really. So, no. But, yeah, he did. Anyway, I meet him in the restaurant. Don't let him pick me up. Didn't back then. I'm not going to ever date like that again. I have no intention of it. But, I meet him in the restaurant. And he came in and he was dressed, I kid you not. This was like back in the, I'd say about 12 years ago. So, yeah. And he came in dressed like he was going to a disco. Seriously. Think back, what was that show with John Travolta and dancing? I can't remember. So. But, yeah, like he was going to a disco, and he had his shirt unbuttoned real low and all this bling, like I said about the women, he made Mr. T, he's, to shame. What is that expression? My goodness. Put Mr. T to shame. And just a lot of gold, gold chains and all disco thing. And had long hair like back in those days. His hair was blonde. And it's kind of blonde, like a mix. And he walked in with, like, he was very arrogant, and he knew he was the best person in the planet and made sure everybody saw him, with all that bling for one and the way he was dressed. And I was kind of like embarrassed, I guess a long time ago, I don't know. I don't know if I get too embarrassed for other people because, that's something that he made his own choice in. If somebody has an accident or something, that's a different thing. I don't want to mean accident. But anyway, let me go on. Oh, my goodness. But this guy, he sits down, and we're on these really tall tables with tall chairs and everything. And I'm not trying to be funny, but I think he had a little bit difficult time getting on it. And he was like, anything that was negative for him, he made it to where it made him stand out even more. Made it loud. I have a vague memory of him being very loud. But the rest of him was so loud, his appearance, that, yeah. Then he started talking, and oh my goodness, this guy was scary. Okay, and back then I was, I don't think I was still a student. Maybe I was in my, working on a PhD in counseling and developmental psychology. And when I ran across people who were a little bit off or a lot off, I would stay interested. I mean, I knew they had a problem, but I wanted to see how deep. I don't do that anymore. Oh no, I'm guarding myself much better than I did then. It was a curiosity. Back then it was curiosity. And I should have really, if I ran across something like that today, somebody, I would leave immediately. Find a way, tell somebody, hey, don't let this person follow me out. But he started talking. And this is a man who was brazen enough to just talk about his jobs and what he did. He was a computer programmer. I don't know what they call him now, but he was in IT then or whatever. And he said he bragged about how much money he had and how much he earned. And he was, he was a contractor, and they call him in and they let him do anything he want because he was so good. Probably all lies. And then he started talking about, but each time I go to one of these places, these women that work there, all they want to do is file sexual harassment charges against me. He said, I've had 5. And I'm thinking, oh boy, yeah. This is one who's blaming the victim, and and playing the victim at the same time. He says, that's all they want. These places just pay them off, and that's it. And I just keep working because I'm so good. And that's all they want anyway is money. You know, they're lying, and that's all they want. No, I could tell right off the bat. They weren't lying. Nope, they weren't lying. Well, maybe I did find a way to just get out of there, you know, real fast after that. But no, he told me a story first. Okay, this man just starts talking and doesn't stop, you know, that kind of thing. Pardon the brakes, I have to cut off every once in a while because we have mountain cedar coming up from Austin, and every year it happens, and I have allergies to it. So does Adam now. Anyway, so this guy, he tells me this story, and I would say that maybe all of his stories were lies, you know, and just meant to, you know, be weird, okay? But this story, it was bad. It was, and I heard another one I called a psychopath. Okay, no doubt in my mind, seriously, a psychopath. But I'd heard, now that was a totally different thing, you know, from narcissistic and histrionic, although they can blend. But yeah, this guy that I'm talking about, the one dressed like, you know, he's going to a disco, he told me this story about like a woman. He had met a woman and he wasn't interested in her. It was probably the other way around, but yeah, he wasn't interested in her, and she decided to follow him home. I really didn't believe anything that he was saying at this point at all, okay? But he said that, you know, she followed him home and, you know, banged on his door. He finally let her in, said she better leave, and if she doesn't leave, then he told a story of what he was going to do to her, which I won't repeat on any video, but it was bad. It was really bad. To harm her, basically. And it was a terrible story. And I think maybe that's when I found a way to get out of there. And I probably did tell somebody, watch him, don't let him follow me, you know. But yeah, it was like, I think he actually did follow me. I have vague memories. That was, you know, back in those days. But he told me that story, and I'm like, this guy is totally nuts, you know. So I did get out of there, and I did leave. I think he did try to follow me, and they stopped him, or something happened like that, somebody, and I said, no, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Leave me alone. You know, got in my car, took off, even though I lived just right across the street, kind of like, yeah, you know. But he was just totally freaky. And that's why I say it was kind of like a narcissistic, histrionic blend, because the histrionic likes the attention. But I think maybe he was more than just narcissistic. You know, the other side. Maybe it was more of the psychopath. But, yeah, to tell some woman you're just meeting that kind of story, and to tell them about, and talk to them about sexual harassment, you know, and winning, you know, they just give the money to the women, that's all the women want. No, that's not. You know, and he was like, I could tell, he was just that type. Knew no boundaries, didn't care. It was all about him, and he had to shine, and gross, gross, gross. Anyway, I think this video is getting long, but I don't know. You know, I know how I see it now. I know how, I don't need anybody to tell me you know, what I should have done, all that kind of stuff. But I'm curious, how many of you ever did that? You know, did the internet dating, or maybe you were divorced, you know, married younger, then divorced, and then tried to date. So it was a totally different world than when you were growing up, when you were dating before, and run across some crazy creeps like this. Now, that's not the only story, I could tell, yeah. But if you feel comfortable, leave a comment below about your experience, and you know, just tell your story. But anyway, I should wrap this up. I'm telling you, I think this allergy is getting to me. If you want to subscribe to this channel, click the circle. If you're watching a video on this channel, click one of the rectangles. Like, subscribe, comment, and share on your own social media if you would, and I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.